Hello and welcome to another episode of The Card Show. In this week's episode, we're going to be talking about card shows because, it's the Card Show podcast, but there's been sort of mixed reviews of a recent show, which was CardCon. As of recording this, it finished a few hours ago. But many of you may have seen on socials if you weren't there. Depending on obviously who you followed, there was sort of some good reviews by it and some people who weren't that impressed with it. I know some people left early on a Sunday that were vendors. So no, let's get into the nitty gritty of card shows, I suppose. Thoughts on that sort of thing. Again, this was CardCon 3, and this is not a hate podcast on CardCon or any other card shows. This is just card show talk in general. This was CardCon 3. You would have seen potentially one of my vlogs from CardCon 1. It was straight from the get go. It was a 2-dayer from CardCon 1. I had a good time down there. I'd never been to Farm before. I didn't really know where it was or what it was, etc. So yeah, for me, obviously Manchester, it was a metro into town. Then from Manchester, it was a train. I did a change at Reading. I think I could have done to London, and then gone on the overground. I think it is. Underground to overground. I can't remember how it all worked out, but it ended up being like a few different like chop change. I think it was like London, then underground to overground to this, and then whereas the Reading route was said down to Reading, then Reading to Farnborough. Next tough journey again, long one, but not too bad. About 4 hours, maybe 3.5, some of the hours. It was one of them ones. Nice little place. Very, I'd say similar to Esher or Esher, where lots of London car show is, but sort of not busy, nice enough area. I was at a Premier Inn. I think I had like some sort of dine underneath, Sainsbury's across the road, and a few other fast food joints around there. It was again nice enough, which always makes the car show a bit more enjoyable. This was probably close. It was close to the train station, and then another 10-15 minute walk down to actual Farnborough International, which was the air hangar that they'd hide out for CardCon. I did both days. I had a table with Sports Cards UK Dan. Obviously, Dan living local. He wasn't like staying at a hotel nearby. So for him, he was just driving up, driving 5-10 minutes down the road. It was. But he obviously stayed. We did like it was an unofficial trade night at the Holiday Inn, which was across the road on that evening on a Saturday, and then obviously Sunday. I think I left early on that Sunday just because again how long it takes to get back. I just didn't want to leave at like 4. By the time I think the next train would I could have got was around about 5:15 something like that. And I thought I'm not going to get home for 10 o'clock. It's a long weekend as it is. I said I've got there on a Friday as well. So that's always one of the things I was putting to sort of perspective now, going to card shows in a time that I'm actually losing. A lot of times I was going to shows on a Friday, coming back on a Sunday. And if they are 2-day shows, I'm spending the weekend at the show as opposed to sort of seeing what's around. I was sort of lucky a little bit that Dan and I could, get around at some place we've been together. The Edinburgh card show, for instance, and the Scotland card show in Edinburgh. We managed to go around a little bit of Edinburgh there. I know Dan did a little bit more than me. But it's always nice when you add on that sort of thing, because you're paying for travel accommodation, money you may spend in the shows. It can be costly weekends, and all of a sudden you realise you've just been stuck in sort of a hall buying and selling cards, and you think, I didn't really see what was in this place. So it's always nice you get to sort of go around. Again, if you're staying at a Premier Inn, it's not horrendous, but not everywhere has a Premier Inn, or you can always get a place. But it was, again, as we've seen from the vlog, it was a very big, it's an air hangar. It's a very big unit, and we talked about so much stuff. And I believe in this third one, I'll say finally, but they put in some things into place. Whereas there was a lot of sports stuff like you did like a penalty sort of shootout game, and there's an F1 simulator and all this other stuff they put in, which I think I mentioned after the first one, because they only used maybe a third of this air hangar. They'd left so much just pitch, didn't even turn lights on, just pitch black, and it wasn't until you sort of really focused and saw like how much was left of that air hangar, thinking, wow, this could be 3-4 times X. Why don't you just open up now and do the free stuff now? Let's face it, you have a penalty shootout thing, and the winner who scores like all 5 pens gets little blaster boxes, and you have little basketball sort of free throw games, whatever, and whoever's making the most free throws in the day gets a hobby box, something like that. You can turn these things into games, and yes, you could charge like a little pound to entrance for it or whatever. It's one of them, or you could just do it for free. And I'm glad they did sort of that sort of stuff this time. I think apparently there's a lot of free stuff. Again, nothing of the games wise was sponsored, or it wasn't. You couldn't win anything, but it was just a bit of fun for the day while you're out. What was interesting was also when I was there for KaiCon 1, it was 90% sports. Maybe that's maybe 80. I think I'm gonna say 90, maybe 85, 90. But it's a very strong sports contingency, and that was mainly because the people who were behind it were Sports Cards Direct, so their connections and probably their following was more sports cards. Number 2 I didn't go to, but then number 3, they obviously hired some more people, I suppose, in different areas of the business to help the business grow. And they brought in Eddie Hall, they brought in darts player whose name slips my mind right now. Luke Humphries. Well, there we go. Claude Makalele. So there was like I could mix them around, and I think the whole ethos with CardCon is not just to get sort of card collectors down to the card show. It is about getting new people who into sports cards and memorabilia, which is great. It all signs sort of pointed in a positive direction from my point of view. From the outside, they were making a lot of moves. They were improving the business by hiring certain people they thought were good enough for the spot. They were bringing in free sort of activities to do, bringing in sort of say legends, but people respected in their fields, in their sport fields. They brought in a lot of I don't know, influencers in brackets, and a lot of Instagram personalities, etc., to do chats, and I don't know if people got paid to go. That's one of the that's one of the other things that we'll talk about later on. But yeah, they seem to do a lot of positive things, opening sort of the wider spectrum to collecting. So I was quite, I was quietly excited. It was one of them that I knew I personally wasn't going to go this time, not because the show didn't appeal to me, just because of where my time was divvied up this weekend. Again, Mother's Day, Manchester. It's a long one. Again, yes, I could have gone down on a Friday and come back on a Saturday, I suppose. But I said time, money. You have to make choices nowadays. But I was definitely looking forward to it. I was looking forward to seeing the content coming out from themselves and other people going on Saturday and Sunday, and obviously seeing what sort of vlogs come out of it from the week going forward. There was a lot of again, like I said, mixed reviews I was seeing. I seen some people saying that for sports it was severely lacking. Which may have been. It may have gone, I don't say too Pokemon-y or TCG, but it just may have been a case of they were the connections that have been made over the last year, because it's only once a year CardCon. So maybe that's the connections they made, and it just happens that they bought all the tables quicker, and that's just the way it is. Again, maybe people didn't fancy it because of Mother's Day weekend, maybe this or the other. So obviously that got onto some people's bad sides, not the sports. There's a lot of people saying that they had a great time, and I saw people saying they had no problem picking up sport cards. They were picking up cards that they wanted to pick. I think sometimes it's not about the quantity, right? It's about the quality. So if you're looking for NFL cards and there's only, let's say, 2 tables in there, they've got the NFL cards, you're hoping that they have good quality ones that you're after, right? If you have cards you're not interested in, if they just got nothing but Detroit Lion cards, then and you don't collect Detroit Lions, you don't believe in them as an investment purpose, then obviously it's not going to be great. You know what I mean? Purchase, you're going to slag off the event sort of thing. Then they can't control the stock they bring. The inventory, they just sell the tables to people that say they sell NFL cards, right? Oh, it's not fully on CardCon as blame as we say. And again, this is just a few people's perspective. I was not there personally, so I can't say it was 100%. More Pokemon and handful of sports tables. So I had some people that say they managed to find stuff they're looking for, even stuff they sort of weren't looking for, they went to pick up. They added a trade night. I don't know if they can't remember if they added an official trade night last time for 5-on-2. I don't think they did. I think it's their first time they had a trade night. Correct me if I'm wrong. So there's a trade night to it as well. Didn't see much from that, to be fair. Did not see much from that or hear much about that. Whether it was just a lot of people had gone down for the day and gone back up and get ready for Mother's Day. I don't know. But yeah, that is what that is. Day 2 come around, and I saw people saying that as vendors saying they'd left before midday. Again, I left midday-ish on my second day there on CardCon 1 as a vendor. But again, because I travel arrangements at the time, I went to get an early train home. I went to be home for 5, 6 o'clock instead of 9, 10 o'clock sort of thing. So I just left a few hours early. I've done it, other shows, just because it's the way it is, right? Everyone wants to get home, sort themselves out, and eat, shower up, and get ready for work on the Monday. So it's just one of them. There's nothing against shows for that. In CardCon 3, to think of the improvements and then to see people leaving, again, you sort of go, okay. You sort of ask, and pro, you want to find out, is there a reason? And again, these were sports sellers mainly saying that they just didn't have the sort of the footfall of buyers and this and the other. And it sort of leads to that whole, we've had sports cards only shows. Sometimes they do okay, and the next one they're on. Then sometimes you see certain shows say they are doing so okay, and it may be the last one. And we'll see if this is the juice worth to squeeze, sort of thing. I think the whole embracing. I think this is what London does so well. It embraces both sides, and it openly admits that Pokemon tables sell quicker. They could sell more than they could sports. Having there was, I think, when they said about doing the second floor, going back to sort of the lower floor in Esher, Sandown Racecourse. I think a lot of people thought that was going to be for sports because it was obviously smaller than upstairs, and upstairs would be full on Pokemon. And you can sort of see where it makes sense, right? The division. But what they've done so well is blending sports upstairs with Pokemon still, so you still get that crossover, and downstairs strictly Pokemon. I think since that's happened, we've seen a lot more happier, should we say, sort of sports cards vendors from this. I'm not saying it because people have seen Pokemon and then buying sports cards. I just think how big London is, how big he's getting, and stuff that they're doing. People seem to always go back, and all of a sudden it helps, right? You sort of become familiar with buyers and sellers. You sort of know what the people are looking for. Sellers get better, buyers come, and know where to go to, right? So, and I think that's something that CardCon's going to have to do. It's difficult when you do one a year. I mean, they're on CardCon 3. London's on something like, what, 12 now, 13? They've been smashing out 4 shows a year for the past couple of years. Maybe it's 11. I can't. It's a double figure. I'm pretty sure about that. Yeah, maybe 11, 12. Doesn't matter. So they're way behind that sort of community they've got and that sort of stuff. But it's very, very interesting. Food for thoughts in that process of getting that mix right, because I did lent too much to the sort of Pokemon TCG and Instagram personalities. I believe there was like a stage talking about content creation. It was all just TCG or Pokemon sort of people. But again, they're trying to sell tickets to a show. and if Pokemon's what sells and TCG is what sells, then they're leaning into it more. Uh, um, Again, the place is massive, so it really shouldn't have been too much of an issue. As in like you can blend it in where you've got the sports, very much a lot of sports based activities with the F1 simulator, the penalty thing, and all sorts of stuff, and the penalty football, penalty shootout thing. So it is very surprising. I do wonder if it is just a case of timing, like they put on a bad weekend. But I am very, very intrigued to see. I'm looking forward to seeing some content and speaking to more people over the next coming days and weeks and their thoughts on it. But it's very interesting. If you were there, let me know your thoughts. If you were just there as a gym admission sort of thing, or a VIP maybe, did you get the benefits of that? Or if you were a vendor, was it were you a TCG vendor or were you a sports vendor, and how did you find it? Was it full flow traffic and working well for you, or is it a case of it wasn't the football you were expecting, especially interested in sports? But yeah, I'm very intrigued. I'm looking forward to seeing what they do for Carcon 4 because they said they've improved little segments each time. Always been a 2-dayer. But yeah, a trade night and adding these activities. Yeah, I believe I think they had a CardCon exclusive Futera box as well, which was interesting. We've seen, I think they had Showtime as well, which is obviously show exclusive, but to have a product like this, which is kind of cool. I think it had I'm sure it had a Phil the Power Taylor auto, and it probably had a Luke Humphries auto with Mina. They should have definitely got an Eddie Hall one. That would have been cool. But yeah, it had all these sort of cards that were designed just for this one show, which is kind of cool. It'd be interesting if that's something they do going forward. Again, another thing to shows. I think another thing I've seen as well is are these shows now becoming too sort of showy? Are we losing the essence of going to sort of a sports hall and looking at tables full of cards? Now we're getting, I said, sports activities, we're getting talks, meet and greets, all this sort of nonsense. I always say that in the day they don't stop the card show so everyone listens to a talk, right? It's not like it's a fire alarm. It goes on a stage elsewhere. You don't have to pay attention. You can carry on doing what you want to do. You can go there for an hour, make your deals, and go. You can go to stay there all day and not have to listen to talks, right? So I get it. There was a big push for this sort of we've got this person signing and we've got this person taking photos and this, that, the other. And I think the younger generation, they probably like that sort of thing more, especially when it comes to sort of the YouTubers and the Instagram personalities. But yeah, me personally, I'm not too fussed. Like if I don't buy tickets based on who's there signing and who's taking pictures. Again, I'm in it for two things, right? Investments, buying to flip, and my personal collection. So the rest of it sort of just is not a big pull to me. But I get it why it can be. Or, nice weekend and you get to have meet and greets with athletes and hear some of their stories, when they're on the panels and a bit of a Q&A sort of thing. It's fine. I think it definitely, like I said, it definitely sells tickets. I go to my local card fair and I tell you something, there may be the same amount of cards at a 5-table card fair than there is a 200-table card show. But I'll say this is what, something like 8,000 times the amount of people go to card shows. Lucky to get 20, 30 people all day at a card fair. Very lucky. 20 people is a lot of people at a card fair. A small card fair, like a local one. Yeah, compared to the thousands you get over a big card show. So, it's a big pull. So I'm not too, but again, it doesn't decide or buy or sell, buy a ticket to go to the show. But it's, again, people thought, now what are the peddling? Should they focus more? The people running shows, should they focus more on who's getting the tables, what stock they bring in, so they can provide a better experience for the end user, the buyer who's buying their tickets to the show? Or do you carry on doing what you're doing and having a nice little split? And if people bring sort of the same sort of stuff, and it's just tables of Pokemon plushes and old school Pokemon, and the sports side thing is just all the latest products. Is that their fault? They sold tables, right? They can't collect one stock, so it's a difficult one, and I don't know. It would be extremely hard to do, and no matter what you did in that scenario, I don't think you'd ever win. If you told people that you need to know images to bring in so you could advertise that sort of thing to bring more of a, advertise that and say, oh, we've got this person bringing in vintage football, but this person bringing in NFL, this person bringing in NBA, this person bringing in NHL, this person bringing in MLB, this person bringing Magic the Gathering, this person's MetaZoo. Maybe a few more people would be more inclined to buy tickets to go, but how many people would be peed off that didn't get tickets to sell because you had to refuse tickets because unfortunately we've already got 7 tables that are selling vintage soccer. We don't need 8 of them. We've got 7 NFL tables. We don't need 8 of them. It'd be too difficult, and then you'd always get problems of, oh well, they're saying it's vintage, but to them vintage is at 85 beforehand, and they've only got stuff from the early 80s, whereas nothing's from the 30s, nothing's from the. It'd be too difficult, too much of a palaver. I don't really put too much onus personally on the card show runners. At the end of the day, their job is to provide us a safe, secure environment as a consumer to go and buy cards we're after, or at least look for cards, right? So yeah, they can't then control what everyone brings, especially because nowadays a lot of people meet up the day before, and a lot of deals are done before the show starts. The amount of dealers that are trained in changing and trading stuff for 12 hours before waking up and opening the cases on the Saturday morning. You could give the show owner a list of all the cards you're going to bring that Saturday morning. You wake up and, oh yeah, I've traded half that, and half this has gone and sold that last night at a few bevies. So yeah, I'm not too fussed on that part. I think it'd just be too ridiculous. I would like to see some sort of integration with like a mascot or some sort of software that vendors could sort of, as soon as you get your ticket, you can sort of load up image you're going to take, and that way people can maybe even pre-order there. Like, oh, I want to pick up one there, so can I get that now? They can just go on an app, see what vendors are there. Oh, they've got this, perfect. Especially if you also want like third down, pre-ordering stuff like that and being able to pick it up for the app, and then knowing that you've got plenty of penny sleeves and top loaders, and you're going to buy some stock from like Sports Trading Cards UK, for instance. Oh, I'll buy a box there, I'll do a rip, and at least I know I've got this. It's the right size stuff as well. And how many times people tell you as well, when you go to a card show, don't buy that first card you see and blow your budget. This is technically a way of not doing that, right? You can see what the stuff they've got prior, and you can pre-order it and put your pay beforehand or put the deposit beforehand. Then when it comes to the show, it's maybe months later, you've re-upped again, so you've already made a few purchases at the show, and you're not blowing all your budget. And that card that people tell you not to buy and blow your budget on, you've secured it. You're not missed out. If you wanted it, get it. I don't care about time, and if it's something you want, why risk it? Honestly, why risk it? If you want that card, get it. Whether you find it at a better price or not, it doesn't make a difference. You obviously want it to pay that price, happy to pay that price, you paid the price. So that's what it is. That's what it is. And just a little side note as well, because I saw that there was, announcement that Mojo was coming back. This is an interesting one. There is a few videos from Sports Card Radio, last year or so, around him. Obviously, he had a lawsuit about stealing Getty images. But apparently, he got like away with a lesser deal. I think he just got like a couple $1,000 fine because he sold or told on people involved in it, sort of ratted on them. I believe he's on probation from what they were saying in their video. And then there was obviously rumors of him, or allegations, should I say, of him running an Airbnb and partying with underage kids. And it's interesting, you know, this is the hobby in general, right? We kind of pick up with this sort of stuff. Bygones, time goes by, and it's a great healer, right? So, yeah, that is what that is. For me, it's not someone that I pretty much mind to. Don't really care if he's there or not. Don't really watch his content. Don't really, it doesn't mean much to me. But yeah, it's just a very interesting one. That again, it's a year or so ago, and now he's like the guy has to celebrate coming over. Like it's a big idol. Like it means something to. He's going to elevate the UK card scene. Crazy, absolute craziness. These false prophets don't get caught with it. Don't get caught up. Honestly, people like JJJ, Sports Cards UK, them sort of people who are, the salt of the earth people that are doing it for the UK week in, week out. The other people should be hyping up, coming to your shows, and they're going to raise it. But what do I know? What do I know? There was someone else. There was a shout out to Hobbox Luke here. He was some sort of leaked emails. I don't know how true it was. About Tops / Fanatics sort of cracking down on people breaking products early. I think they're saying about they want to penalize or trying to put stuff in place for Whatnot to penalize people, though, which is quite funny. It's like, I know we're taking a lot of the breakers off your platform, because we're sort of strangleholding them to, if they want to get our products, they've got to be with us only. But, if anyone does break any of our products early on your platform, here's some of the penalties you can put in place for them. I'm sure one of them like, oh yeah, okay. So I'll just read a little bit of this email. Services forgive the blanket email, but the purpose of this correspondence regarding the premature breaking of products is twofold. Number one, to highlight to the many UK partners who are abiding by the rules regarding selling and breaking product prior to street date that we are taking this issue extremely seriously. Number two, direct supply from Tops is a privilege afforded to only a select number of partners. Anyone regularly supplying the offenders is, in my eyes, totally complicit. I appreciate that in the hobby, street dates can change at short notice, but there are no excuses in the case of UCC Finest. It's quite evident that the below detailed breakers are paying little regard to the street dates and are motivated by desire to grow market share at the expense of other rule-abiding B2Cs, distributors and breakers. I don't need to receive WhatsApp messages outside of working hours pointing out the injustice of this. I'm fully aware of the breadth of this abuse. But if we want to negate this, the community must work together. And then it names a few breakers. I'm sure you guys know the people who are doing it. So I'm not going to do it. If you do want it, maybe help Hobbox Luke, I don't know. For the avoidance of doubt, nothing should be sold or broken prior to the product release date and time via the Tops.com website. If you're supplying any of the above named and you want to negate a further reoccurrence, I'd encourage you to consider imposing a sanction on a sought after future release, such as UCC Chrome 2324. I appreciate that the culprits can buy from outside the UK, but the message must be united, firm and clear, in that abuse of this nature will not be tolerated. Furthermore, we are in discussion with Whatnot regarding penalties that they can impose for breaching this rule. And I'm sure Whatnot will, not. They'll say, yeah, you can't break on Fanatics, but guess what? You're we ain't going to penalise you. Yeah, you stay on Whatnot. You keep giving you some 11% fees. Jesus. If you have any queries or questions, please don't hesitate to contact me. Thanks for taking time to read and for your continued support. Some Fanatics Collectibles Ltd Senior Sales Manager. So interesting thoughts there. It's something that was, very much told and, kind of negated as well by Sports Trading Cards UK when I was helping them with their whatnot. They were very strict, and this was before the whole Fanatics Live. So it's interesting that these other people and other companies are doing this sort of thing. So it's going to be interesting to see how they crack down on it. Again, the whole whatnot thing is going to be very interesting to take, right? Whatnot probably will love that this Fanatics are taking that quite serious, because it means that some certain breakers will possibly stay over on whatnot. Because, like I said, they can still get it from abroad. They can still get the stock elsewhere. And I'm sure someone will slide them some products if need be, because money talks. I'm sort of glad they are cracking down on Fanatics, and they seem to be running a tight ship. But let's see what happens. There was an email floating around that they bought VOTs, so it'll be interesting. A lot of VOT stuff go over. But yeah, it's never a dull moment in this hobby, right? Who just thought I'd have a podcast waffling nonsense about card shows and live selling platforms and the crazy corruption, and we're all doing is just trying to buy cardboards of people we watch on TV. What a crazy time to be alive. But as always, guys, you are the real MVP. You really are. And this is why we are the best podcast in the UK, because of you guys. It's you guys that make this podcast what it is. So I appreciate you. And yeah, I hope you appreciate the pod, because it's yours. Until next week. Peace.